You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cricket Podcast, where today we've got another guest on, one of the legends of the shortest format here in England, one of the sport's genuine innovators. He's currently out in the UAE, linking up with friend of the pod, Dan Weston at the Bangla Tigers. Benny Howell, how are you doing? How's it going out there in the UAE?
It's warm. No, it's warm, and the ball pitch, so it's good fun.
Awesome.
Well, first things first, we do messages for our listeners right at the start of the show, but we're sponsored by Woodstock Cricket. You're sponsored by Woodstock Cricket as well, right?
Yeah, it's good. What a sponsor. Lucky you.
Oh, but yeah, well, you're actually a proper cricketer. We get made to look even better. We've got all the gear and no idea, really. So, I mean, John, ever go, right, every time you do this, you got to say these cricket bats are amazing, or is it, or are you just live and breathe?
Yeah,
anyway?
pretty chilled. No, Jono's a legend. Yeah, no, it's pretty chilled. Obviously, when I do well, the Woodstock sponsor gets out there and people can see it. So hopefully, I can carry on doing all right with the bat and prove how good these Woodstock bats are.
Fair enough. Well, that's far better endorsement than we'll ever do in terms of maybe you turn your average from 12 to about 15 runs a season.
It's better having no gear and no idea at least. At least you got some gear, so it's fine.
Also, I don't know what Ross is talking about. I scored hundreds of runs this year. You know,
there we go.
I dominated the North East London Cricket League. People haven't seen batting like that before. We'll get back to this. I think we've got a few sort of quite nerdy cricket questions for you a little bit later on in this interview, because I think on other podcasts, some of your insight into the game has been fascinating for us to hear, and I think we've got some sort of follow-up questions on that. But starting off with something a little bit lighter. Benny, I heard that you once went on holiday during the middle of a cricket season. Is that actually true? Did that happen? Is that's the whole question?
Yeah, at Hampshire. My last year at Hampshire, I was a young, naive lad, quite impulsive, and it was towards the end of the season. It was actually, we didn't have any more games left in the second team as I was playing with the second team, and there's one first team game left. I wasn't involved in the squad, so I thought, well, end of season, pretty much, I might as well go on holiday. At the time, I thought it was fine. I didn't really think about it, and yeah, obviously wasn't ideal, wasn't fine. So I look back on now and think, yeah, maybe I made the wrong decision. But Paris was quite nice and Malaga was pretty fun, so it was a good time. Just didn't
perfect time of year to go to Malaga, isn't it? Sort of end of the cricket season. Yeah,
it was end of September. Yeah, it was like middle September, I think. Yeah, it was quite nice.
Go back, look at it. Look at this tan. Oh, it's great.
Yeah, but that's what happened. Yeah, so it did years ago now.
Well, for a chunk of our audience, you've really come to prominence in the last few years, particularly because of the 100. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience of playing in the 100?
Well, it was good fun. It really was. I mean, put performance aside, I think it was just the way they sort of marketed it and the way the crowd, came into the stadium. It was packed houses pretty much every game. You're playing with players, top class players you played against as well on county circuit. So it's all a bit new, but it was really fun. And the way the 100 went, felt like a T20, but it felt like it flowed a lot better, especially in the bowling innings, probably because it was, you could bowl 10 at one end, 5-5. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was obviously because of COVID, we had to be in a little bit of a bubble, but apart from that, it was really fun to be involved with. Yeah.
Okay, well, we're big fans of Birmingham Phoenix. One, because of the sponsorship of Butterkist. I mean, how often do you get to wear a Butterkist shirt, right?
Pretty cool.
But playing in that final, right? So T20 cricket, T10 cricket, 100 cricket. The finals is obviously always so close. How was it? I'm guessing it was disappointing to kind of not get it over the line. Especially you're playing quite an exciting brand of cricket, as most of the commentators would say now.
Yeah, it was. I think we never really were. I mean, it wasn't really that close to the end, was it? The final. So it wasn't like a heartbreaking loss, but it was disappointing looking back on how we played. And we didn't actually play badly. It was just Sterling went off on one. We didn't quite nail the last couple overs, and the total was obviously a little bit far off our reach. In the end, we needed something special from someone like Livy or Mo, our top sort of batters, but that didn't come off, and you can't expect them to do it every time. But it was just one of those things where the other team, obviously they turned up on the day and played better than us. I know it's a cliche, but it's unfortunately that's what happened.
Yeah, well, obviously, with the Dan Western connection to this podcast, it was sad for us. Nothing like being there, but we did want you to win for what that's worth. I have a question, sort of going back to about 3 years now, or whatever it is, to the conception of the tournament and then the draft. What's it like as a player to sit through a draft and to not know when your name might be read out, or have an idea that your name might be read out, but not sure when and by who? Can you give us a player's eye view of that process? Because it looks, it must be pretty nerve-wracking, right?
Horrible. I wouldn't recommend sitting through something like that. I mean, afterwards it was a big relief when you get picked up, and I was lucky enough to be picked up relatively high, but still that wait until then was long, because even though deep down you should be in there and you should be there at an all right price if they're going on what you've done in the blast and whatnot, but you just never know. You never know what's going to happen, because there was some guys who probably could have been a lot higher and who were right down the bottom, and the wait is just, it's excruciating sometimes. I know the guys who just missed out and had to wait the whole draft. In the end, they were obviously bitterly disappointed, but sitting through that was, especially for them, would have been tough. But it's exciting as well. I mean, it's great because it's if you get picked up, it's fantastic. So it's a really weird experience, really. Yeah.
Do you have like a hype man? Is your agent kind of around, kind of be like, don't worry, mate, he's got his hands on your shoulders, be like, it's really fine? Is it kind of just trying to talk you through the process?
I think it was, when was the draft? I can't even remember. It was off season. I just remember sitting down on the couch, just had a few snacks and a few beers just to just calm it down, just have a little watch and try and enjoy it. But it was still nerve-wracking. But it was an interesting watch. But I was obviously, when my name get called out, it was in fact I didn't actually hear my name get called out. I thought it was the end of the round. I was like, okay, I'll wait to the next round. And then I went to get a drink, came back, and I saw my name, my face on the screen saying I got drafted or something from the last round. I was like,
oh, you missed the great moment.
I was, yeah, I know. I was shocked. And then after about 5 seconds, it kicked in, and I was like, come on, let's celebrate it.
Nice. Well, in addition to the 100, you've also started to get quite a few gigs in other short format competitions around the world. The Blast. You've been out in Bangladesh. You're out in the T10 at the moment. We talked a little bit about this off air, but what's the difference in preparation, say, between a 100 match, a Blast match, and a T10 league match?
A lot of franchise tournaments, the ones I played overseas, you don't, in terms of like pre-game preparation, you don't really warm up the same as you would in a Blast. The Blast, a lot of guys get there 2.5 hours before, have their like power hitting, out in the middle and everything, and then like a proper warm up. But here, you go in there because there's always games on before. There's a few games on in one day, and you just sort of crack on. The coaches are there to sort of do whatever you want to do. Really, it's a lot more relaxed in franchise, a lot more relaxed than it is in the Blast, especially. But it's weird because a lot of the guys there's some guys who played international cricket for a long time. For them, it's probably chilled out. You know what I mean? So I think you've got to sort of embrace that vibe a bit. Whereas in the county Blast, you're playing with your county, your teammates you play with, that season, the last few seasons. So, you feel a little bit more, like you want to do well in the sense of for your mates. But here it's like you want to do well, but it's a lot more relaxed. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I'd almost thought, as an outsider, it would be kind of the other way round. That the more money someone throws at something, the more you as a player have to knuckle down and be professional and so on. But
yeah, it's interesting. I think because there's so many games in like a short period in franchise cricket that you haven't really got time to like all your work's done before that. You sort of a lot of the guys are just like to chill out, and you have to, because if you're playing every day, every other day, you haven't got time to do these long warm-ups or these long training sessions. You got to be ready. You got to be just warm up and ready to go, to be honest. Yes, you want to do well, but at the same time, I think the vibe of franchise cricket is very relaxed, very chilled out. So I think you've got to embrace that vibe.
You're on the like Ledley King training program, where it's just like, I'll just go for a swim. I don't need to go running or anything. I'll just go and do water aerobics with the pensioners who are in this nice hotel in Dubai.
Yeah, it's a lot like that. So a lot of the older guys definitely don't do much. They literally don't do anything. They chill and just play. But the young guys who are part of the team, they like to stay active. Obviously, their bodies can probably allow it. But yeah, I enjoy training, but I've had to learn to sort of tone down a little bit, especially when there's a lot of games on. It's quite tough.
Imagine. Following on from that, I think it'd be really interesting to hear about your process for coming up with new deliveries and why you decided to go down that route, if that's okay.
Yeah, I think, what was it? When I started bowling a lot more when I first, after second season at Gloucester, they wanted to play me as a bowler in all formats and an all-rounder, you know, in the middle there. And I really hated the idea of bowling these little medium pace sort of things. And I just thought that's not really going to get me anywhere apart from playing a bit of county cricket. And that really gave me much, I don't know, it didn't sound exhilarating, didn't sound like a great career for me. So I first went to try and get faster. And maybe I put on 2 or 3 miles an hour when I tried that, but it wasn't enough. So I decided I need to do something else and try and, well, I went to watch a baseball game and I really loved the way the pitchers changed it up. So I did that, and then I decided to play around all these different balls and stuff like that. And yeah, I sort of fell in love with that side of things. So I just started to do that, and it's carried on ever since.
Do you have a favourite one? Do you have something? You know, like in Zoolander, he's got blue steel. Do you have a blue steel kind of favourite?
I go through phases, I think. Depends how well they're coming out. Yeah. At the minute, I'm obsessed with bowling these quick leg spinners, but I haven't quite done them in a game yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard, obviously, there's quite a lot of reports. There's a bit of a mythology around Benny Howell about the number of deliveries you have. So I suppose I've got sort of 2 questions on that. The first one is, can you confirm roughly what the number is? And then 2, when you decide to add another delivery to your arsenal, like what, if you know, thinking about this like an artist, yeah, what's the conceptual stage for you? Like, what is it that gives you the inspiration to come up with a new ball or try something else? How do you perfect it, and how do you know when it's ready to roll out in a match? So
I can't really give a number to that, because it's quite a fluid process with the different balls I have, because potentially I can't even think. I have a lot of different balls, but I may just use 1 or 2 in a game at one time. But the process behind it would be, because I can get carried away with a ball that may never be ready or even relevant in a game, I try and have like an imaginary ball locker. So I'd have number 1 is the locker one, where all the balls I bowl in a game that I'm comfortable with bowling, depending on the situation, the batter, you know, etc. I can sort of pick out and use those. Then I'd have a locker 2, where the ones I want to use in the game, they're not quite ready, so I might trial them in a practice game or something like that and work on them in the nets. And then I'd have like a locker 3, which is completely random. Anything goes in that one, so any idea I chuck in there. And most of those balls in locker 3 would just be bin, because they're just purely ideas and rubbish. But some from that locker may well go into locker 2, and if I work hard enough on that, then it will go into the match locker. So before each game, I do like study on the other team and what may work against them, and obviously the pitch comes into play, and decide what sort of balls I want to use in that game. So it may well only be 3 different deliveries that I might want to use in that game. So especially a T10, you've only got 12 balls, and you know they're trying to hit you out of the ground, so you might not want to use too many. You just want to use the right ones. So it's a way for me to sort of compartmentalize what I'm going to use. Otherwise, I can get carried away all these different things and bowl them for the sake of it. So I have to try and get really specific with the options I have. and given, some, because there's a lot, some are not quite as good as others, but I think it's important to have lots of options, but also important to, also important to not just bowl them for the sake of it and really nail down on the ones that you're going to use in that game or in that series or whatever.
Yeah, so I've got a couple of questions sort of following on from that, and I guess influenced by baseball, so I'm a big baseball fan. Firstly, are there any deliveries that you've taken, you've literally ripped off of pitches? And secondly, do you have, you're using these different deliveries, presumably not quite at random in the game. Do you have any kind of communication with your wicketkeeper so that they know what to expect? Because,
Not really. Most keepers, I'll bowl them in the middle so they can get a feel for what's coming down, but they tend to be quite good. They're quite moved quite well and react. So I wouldn't tell them what I'm doing. They'll just react to it. But they would. So it's good when I speak to the keeper and see what's come down, because they can see what's happening. They can, give me some little advice of like, this ball's come down nice. I like this one. Yeah, you can use more of this or something like that. But apart from that, they'll just react. And well, so what was the first one you said? Do I get it?
Yeah, so you said it was that was sort of the inspiration. Most pitchers will have 3, 4, or 5.
They won't have too many.
Variations. But is there anything that you've seen someone pitch and been like, I could try that in cricket, and then it's come off perfectly?
Grip wise, yes, but because the baseball is different, they throw it. It's so different to having a straight arm. So in terms of a grip, I say, that's how they hold it. Maybe I can try that. And there's been a number of times where I've used exactly the grip that they use and it hasn't worked. But there's one I'm working on at the minute that I got the same grip as a pitcher, and it's sort of in locker 2 at the minute. So we'll see if that comes off. But so I do watch that. I more think about how they use their finger pressure for different balls, because I think that's so important. Because at the end of the day, when you're bowling slower balls, even pace on balls, the last bit of your body to touch a ball is a finger, well, one of your fingers or a thumb potentially. So just by thinking like heavy pressure on a certain finger may just get the ball rotating a certain way or this and that. So there is definitely something I look at with the way they more talk about it and talk about how they approach like their different pitches. Do you know what I mean? So because it's so specific in baseball, and they detail everything, and which I find fascinating. So it's more like that side of things rather than the exact grip, because the baseball's different. They don't throw it on the ground where we bowl it into the pitch. So
you can watch everything, right? Everything on. I think there's loads of baseball content uploaded onto YouTube, so actually it's actually really quite accessible. Whereas cricket content is not really the same, right?
You can't see it, because it's so big on change-outs. That's pitcher's job is literally to try and deceive the batter, and the batter's job is literally to try and pretty much hit home runs or get hit. So like that's all their job is, and it's almost they're well ahead of cricket in that sense. So it's good to watch and see what they do. I read a few books on it and stuff, just to get ideas. I find it fascinating as well.
Cool. That's really fascinating insight. One of the things that we were listening back in preparation for the show. I was listening back to a couple of your other interviews. One with Jared Kimball, where you talked about wanting to be the first of the Benny Howells and kind of being somebody who inspired other people to want to be like you. You've sort of talked about the process there, and we've seen the results. Is there anyone in the game you think who's kind of working along similar lines? And I guess I don't know if you've cast your eye across the rest of the cricketing or the professional cricketing population. I thought that's a potential successor there. Is there anyone we should keep an eye out for?
Not potentially in England. I haven't seen many who's done that. I think English, maybe the way that they've been brought up is still quite backward, but definitely in the Afghan lads, there's a lot of mystery spinners. Like guys like Majib, and obviously he's already international level, but there's a lot of guys here in UAE and guys from Afghan who've come over and they sort of bowl these sort of flicker things, and more from a spinner's run up though, but not necessarily bowl leg spin or off spin. They're sort of flicking them out a bit like a Narayan, I reckon there'll be a lot more of those type of bowlers coming through, especially when you play on wickets that might offer, just that adds a little mystery. But I haven't seen anyone run in from like the run-up I run in from yet. But maybe they don't need to, because if they can do it from like a spinner's run-up and bowl quick flickers, it's not about, I guess it's not about how fast you bowl when you're that sort of bowler like myself. It's not really how fast I bowl or quick spinners, not how fast. It's about the changes of pace, the use of your different deliveries that are deceiving batters. Do you know what I mean? So I think you've got to use your strength, I guess. I mean, I'm not going to bowl 90 miles an hour, so that's, nor as a spinner. So then you've got to use what you've got.
You're surprised if you did. Tell you what, that'd be a hell of a variation.
If I got that, so actually, I can actually do that. That'd be amazing. But yeah, no. So I think there'll be a lot more of those guys, more like the Majid types, definitely.
I'm just picturing like Benny Howell and the Variations. It's kind of your like jazz band name as well as your people who follow you. So I think I like that.
Kai Ahmed on sax.
How do you view the increase? As you talk about baseball there, and they're kind of way ahead of where cricket is in terms of applying data to pretty much everything. How do you view the increase in the use of data analysis in cricket? Is it more beneficial to a player like yourself? Because I'm guessing you've got probably a bit of a data fan club.
Yeah, data is a funny one because data is very important, but it also can be very misleading if not done well. So it definitely helps massively, but I like a bit of both. So I like to see data, but I more like to see a lot of footage and see how the batsmen line up and how they go about it, and then I can work out what deliveries are potentially bowled to those sort of batters and how they do it. So I like that, and I'm still sort of working on what is the best sort of research to do. Sometimes I get it wrong and over research. Sometimes I don't do enough. So still sort of finding out what the best way of doing it is. But I think it can only help as long as you don't get overwhelmed by it and forget what you're good at.
It's one slice of that cake, right? That's kind of almost like the base layer. Just like, here's enough information to make you dangerous, but then you're going to be like, right, here's the professional.
Yeah. Well, for example, like over here in the T10, like we play at 8 start at 8:30 now, I think, the last few games, and the ball's getting quite wet. And so the pitch is, because there's a bit of dew, so it changes what potentially is all this data you've done on these batters. It changes completely what you have to do in the game. So you have to be ready to sort of adapt and see how the batter's going to play on that wicket in that particular innings or in that game, and working out what the pitch is actually doing. So then all the data you've looked at, all the research could just change. You might have to just completely just go on instincts and go, but actually, no, I feel this is right. And you've got to be open to that as well. So that's why I believe in having a lot of different options, because you need to be able to have those options. If you have only 2 or 3 options and those options are just not suitable for this batter or that particular wicket, then it's not a recipe for disaster, but you got a good chance of getting hit out of the park. And as you've seen in T10, like, it can happen. People just get on one, hit 4, 5 sixes in a row. It's like, I mean, if you get hit for 2 sixes, then right, okay, how are you going to get out of that over? Do you know what I mean? It's brutal.
Yeah. And are you looking to take wicket? I know this might sound a bit of a stupid question, but are you looking to take wickets in T10, or are you just looking to bowl dot balls?
Initially, I was. So I have been, yeah. So initially, unless the batters, so like, I think the first game I bowled to Chris Gayle towards the end, Chris Gayle and Sterling, and they're already in on like 30, 40 off like 20 balls. So I was literally trying to stop them from scoring runs because I knew they're just, trying to tee off. So I still might get a wicket from that. But if a guy's just come in or he just started an innings, if he wants to take me on, if I'm going to bowl one on the stumps that potentially is a length that could get hit for 6, but also get a wicket, I will do that. And then if he feels like he's got hold of me and got a couple away, then I would go, right, okay, I need to get out of this over. I need to just go for one here, one on dot, obviously. Dot's golden. So I initially always will look to take wickets, yeah. Because wickets is key, because you get wickets, you get a new batter in, even if they're still going, and it's always hard as a new batter to just hit from ball one. So wickets are still important.
Yeah, bringing it slightly closer to home.
Yeah.
Now, and I guess moving on a little bit from the process part of what we're talking about. Yeah. And we're lucky enough, thanks to an interview we did with Jack Russell ages ago, to have a little bit of a following in the Gloucestershire or among Gloucestershire fans
Really?
in the West Country. Yeah. It seems like that club seems to hold a really special place in people's hearts. As a player there, why do you think that is? And I'm assuming, like, why have you enjoyed your time there? Assuming that you have.
No, I have. Yeah. Good question.
Imagine we just turn around. No, it's absolutely shit. Gloucestershire's like, that'd be terrible.
Good question. I'm not sure, to be honest. The West Country love. I think it's the same as Somerset fans. The West Country love their cricket. They're very passionate about their own. Because I think we don't get maybe because we don't get the publicity of Lancashires and your Surreys and Yorkshires or whatever. They're very proud of their West Country team, I guess. I have no idea the actual answer to that, but they seem to love it. You know what I mean? So I have enjoyed it as well. No, I have enjoyed my time. It's very everyone's very friendly, and in the West Country, and they just get behind their team. I'm not sure the exact reason. Yeah,
well, human emotion's complex, isn't it? Nobody really knows what love is or why we love.
I think that's one of Benny Howell and the Variation songs, actually. That one.
What is love? Yeah.
What is love?
Obviously, from an England point of view, or from the point of view of English cricket, the one place we haven't seen you is the international team. You've got to still have aspirations, right, to play international cricket, and I don't know. I guess in your mind, do you have like a theoretical route through to the T20 team?
Yeah, I do. Two things that I'm working. One that's quite simple. Is if I'm playing as an all-rounder, my batting has got to improve, and that's up to me. So I've got to be able to show that my batting is not just, you can hit a few power hitting down the middle, occasionally. I want to be known as someone who's dangerous, like really dangerous, like someone who they're worried about. And the minute I'm not there yet, but that can change. So that's one route. That's one route in, whilst obviously keeping what I do with the ball. The other route is, so I'm working, like I said, I'm working on these quick leg spinners. I've been working the last few years, having the option to bowl them in the game, and not from the run up. I do literally just bowling quick leg spinners. So that's sort of the rogue option, if you like. But I'm confident that I'll be able to do that in a game. And I guess we have to see what it looks like in the game first before I can comment on whether that will work. But yeah, there's sort of two different routes I reckon I've got to go in. And given that I've got to still be successful at what I'm doing right now with the ball, that's a given. But I just feel like if they haven't picked me by now with what I do, it's obviously they don't think my bowling would be successful on really flat wickets. And I know people have different opinions on that, but that's just the way they're looking at it, I think. So they're the two different options I've got to go for.
Well, yeah, I mean, so I was going to say, firstly, like the batting's been going pretty well recently. What was it, like 38 off 12 balls the other night? So that's a step.
It's a start, yeah.
But secondly, like, one of the things that we're learning about the game as ball tracking stuff gets better is that actually, when a spinner or a fast spinner or you bowl a ball where you're putting rotations on the ball, what you're doing is making that ball move in the air as well. So, hopefully the science and the data on that one is actually saying, if the pitch is flat, somebody that's able to put like a fair decent number of revs on the ball, get the ball to dip maybe, or get it to feel as though sort of hanging in the air, is actually a decent option there. So, fingers crossed on that one, I guess I'm saying.
Yeah. Hopefully, we'll see. I just got to keep doing what I'm doing, plus adding to my game, like I just said, and we'll see what. I guess you can't control what with selection and stuff. You've got to wait and see.
We know that you put your name in the hat for the IPL before, following how well you did in Bangladesh. It's going to be the mega auction this year round. Is there going to be another Benny Howell draft nerves and party?
No, I don't know. I don't expect to get picked up in that at the minute. So I'm not nervous at all. If I get picked up, fantastic. But it's not. I'm not highly expecting it. But we'll see. I guess I've got this franchise, this T10 to try and perform, and potentially one or two others before it comes in. So we'll see. But I'm pretty relaxed.
They love a bit of recency bias, don't they? So
we'll
keep on
see.
going, and you'll be in there.
We'll see.
In the T10, you speak about bowling to sort of like Paul Sterling, bowling against Chris Gayle. From a bowler's perspective, kind of who's the best that you play? Who's the most? I don't want to use the word scary because no one's really scary in cricket. But who's the most kind of imposing at the crease? Because you talk.
I'd be pretty scared.
This guy's pretty fucking scary, I tell you. Bowling to him and he's standing over the other end. He's massive. Jeez. No. The last thing you want to do is go, I saw that interview you did, Benny. I heard you're scared of me. I did want to tee you up for that. He's okay if Jack's scared of Chris Gayle. I've been hit more than enough times to not be scared now. It's almost the more you get hit, the less scared you get now because you're like, well, it's happened so many times. Do you know what I mean? So Paul Sterling's been playing pretty well. So bowling's in the last few games I've played against him has been pretty tough because he's been hitting so well. Like he's known to hit width really well, but the last year or two he's just swatting it over to leg side and just doesn't seem to miss. So I've had a bit of it's been tough. I've managed to get him out a couple of times, but it's after he's hit me for a one or two fours and sixes. So it's sort of I reckon we're about even against each other. But the West Indian lads over here bowling to them, even the ones that aren't playing international cricket, are pretty tough because although you can deceive them quite well, I think I can deceive them well. But if I don't deceive it, every time I don't, it seems like the ball's just going for six because they just got so much power and such a good eye that you can't miss. So those sort of lads are quite tough to bowl to. And then the last bit, do you have a friendly rivalry within cricket? So I mean, Jack and I play in the same team. We're obviously we've grown up together. We're obviously going to have a bit of rivalry there. Is there anyone on the kind of domestic circuit or franchise circuit where you're just like, I can't wait to get you out, and he's just like, I can't wait to smash you for six, mate, kind of thing? Not on the franchise circuit, but I know James Fuller for Hampshire.
Okay.
He's one of my good mates. He hasn't played quite the level after county cricket, above county cricket yet. But if he does, he's the one we're like good mates that he literally always talks about, just trying to whack me out of the park. Can't wait to face me and stuff. Bowled to him like 3 balls and he's only hit me for 3 singles. So we'll see. So I guess if that rivalry, if we do play Hampshire and I'm bowling against him, that's the only one. I know it's not a franchise player, but there's the rivalry there for sure.
Yeah, you're waiting for him. Benny, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you and to hear your thoughts on bowling. It's been really fascinating. So thank you for joining us on the Cricket Podcast. I think we'll wrap up now. Is there anything that you want to say to our listeners, or anything that you're working on that you want to plug, etc.? Obviously, besides Woodstock Cricket.
What I'm working on, like I said, the quick leg spinners. I think they're going to come out in the next year.
Cool.
Rashid Howells.
we'll certainly look forward.
We'll see what happens.
We'll look forward to that. Great. If you've been watching, listen at home. See you later. Cheerio.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, Benny.
See you later. Bye.
Cool.